It was time for a little experiment. Together with my best photo buddy, we had decided on a trip to the Botanical Garden. Which macro lens should I take with me? Canon FDn 4.0 50mm macro? Canon E F 2.8 100mm Macro USM? Even a bellows? No, I decided on the Canon FDn 4.0 200mm macro, and screw to this lens still the Canon Converter 2x, which was calculated for focal lengths under 300mm. I was curious how the results will look like. Thank you for your interest in the video and for your time. But now, film off. The Canon FDn 4.0 200mm macro was introduced in April 1981. It weighs 830 grams, is 182.4 mm long, and has a diameter of 68.8 mm. Its optical construction consists of 9 elements, arranged in 6 groups. The smallest aperture is 32, the magnification is 1.0, with a shortest focusing distance of 58 centimeters. This makes this lens especially suitable for macro photography from a little further away, for example to exceed the escape distance of insects, or to overcome distances to the subject when a closer approach to the subject is not possible. I used this lens together with the Canon FD Teleconverter 2B. So the lens became 400mm Macro f8, which offered a magnification ratio of now no longer 1:1, but 2:1. Please note that the set aperture effectively decreases by 2 stops. If you set the aperture to f4, with this combination, the effective aperture is 8. If you set the aperture to 5.6, the effective aperture is 11. If you set the aperture to f8, the effective aperture is 16, and so on. This means that less light reaches your sensor or film plane. I recommend the use of a tripod. This way you can use the viewfinder magnifier and focus very precisely, which is indispensable for macro photography because of the very shallow depth of field. If you photograph with this combination on an analog camera, I recommend a viewfinder magnifier, or, depending on the model, of course a magnifier viewfinder. The lens and teleconverter are very well made. Focusing can be done very precisely. The Canon 200mm macro offers a built-in lens hood that is extended for use. The lens changes its length when focusing, and so this combination reaches a total length of 32.5 centimeters, at minimum distance setting with the lens hood extended, and necessary Canon FD to Sony E mount adapter. Thanks to the Canon designers, the front lens does not rotate when focusing. But the most important question is, how does the combination perform in terms of image quality? Vignetting is clearly visible at f4, f5.6 slightly improved. Turning the aperture ring to f8 helps here. Remember, f8 set on the lens effectively means f16, since the teleconverter swallows 2 stops of light. Sharpness performance is excellent when stopped down to f8, effectively f16. Color errors are clearly visible at aperture settings of f4, effective f8, and f5.6, effective f11. Here, green and purple color fringes can occur. At f8, effective f16, these disappear almost completely. You can clearly see in this aperture series how the color errors first become very noticeable on the image. Later, they disappear at a setting of f8 and f11 on the aperture ring. At these settings, the image quality is the best across all aberrations. Color aberrations have disappeared. Vignetting is no longer noticeable, and sharpness performance is, in my opinion, excellent. I therefore recommend using these 2 settings exclusively: f8, effective f16, or f11, effective f22. A stronger stopping down clearly worsens the sharpness performance, and is therefore not recommended by me. At the end of the video, I brought you again a few sample images. They are all taken with my recommended apertures of f8 or f11. Take a look at the pictures, and decide for yourself if this combination might be suitable for you. Also keep in mind, for about €250 you get a f4 200mm, and a f8 400mm macro. Cool, right? Thanks again for watching, and have fun photographing. See you next video, or later on my homepage aperture1.4.com, and on Instagram at aperture1.4.